This will be your saving grace for this paper. Go to login. If you're using the same computer you were at the beginning of the year, I think your username and password is already preloaded into it. If it's not, it would be anyone not have a username and password preloaded. All right, we're able to get in. Ben, you're in. You're okay. All right. Logan, yours worked okay. All right. So once you get into Noodle Tools, you're going to go to New Project. For project title, just do F451, Research, and then the last part in all caps, put your last name. This will make it easier for me then to locate your project when I'm checking them in for credit. Citation style, we're going MLA. Citation level, we are going advanced. So you got Fahrenheit 451 Research, then your last name, don't type my last name, MLA, advanced. And then you're just going to hit submit. And then it'll take you to a page that'll look like this. So you got Fahrenheit 451, Research, last name, all caps. If you because you got to revalidate this field. This will be quick. Just saying you haven't used it in a while, so there you go. Yep. Everybody good? Tommy, you're still waiting on yours, right?
Yep.
Jillian, are you still waiting?
Yeah.
Okay. Pay attention to this part, then I'll come back and help you out with your internet connection. Here's the part that folks forget. Once you have created your project, by default, it takes you to this dashboard place. All right, you have project, dashboard, sources, note cards, paper up at the top. Under dashboard, the middle one is sharing and collaboration, this middle section, where you have sharing project inbox. You're going to share with a project inbox. It's not going to work for me since it's my inbox for the project. But if you start typing in English 10, you should see something that says English 10, Mr. Kane, period 5.
Wait, what? Mine doesn't look like that.
So you're in sharing and collaboration. You're in the sharing area. Share with a project inbox. Start typing in English. You should see English 10, Mr. Kane, period 5.
I got it.
Start to pop up. Okay, I just wanted to check.
Last four. First four initials are the last name. First three.
Share link. Put on the shared link.
Yeah, it honestly probably doesn't matter. But. Should be, okay, this, it would be whatever it was last year when you first logged on, so I think that's like first four of your last name. Like,
I just had a different username.
and then, you guys want 20. And try, NHSD.
It still keeps saying
No.
your last name.
Okay, so you're just gonna create.
Emily. And then you do share the collaboration. The second one, share with the project inbox. Yeah. And English.
There.
It was wild, bro. We was taking videos.
Oh my god.
Easy.
They're done.
Like, Unless you need all these things.
Zach, 3 minutes. Alright, no, hold on. So, if you're having trouble logging into Noodle Tools, first four of your last name, first three of your first name, 20, NHSD,
I was
NHSD.
putting K. I don't know why.
And then for this one, this just means you haven't used it.
Arrow.
Both of these are in illusion of my This will be the only time you'll have to do it. And you just make a new project, F451, and then like your last name in all caps. Zach, new project. Yours is working out.
Yes.
Wait, what does he want to see?
You share it?
This one, last
We can just put Fahrenheit 451.
And then put your last name in all caps. So once you get your the inbox with my name, again, you just type in English 10. It's not going to show up for him because it's my inbox. Type in English 10. You'll see my name, period 5. Once you get there, you hit done, and then it should be shared with me. So Julian, the middle part, share with the project inbox where it's just sharing and collaboration. Trilby, were you able to get there? Zach, are you there? What this does then is I then have access to your preliminary bibliography. So rather than you having to print something out, rather than you having to show it to me, I would have access to all of it. So the projects that are currently shared with me, and you don't have to worry about a Google Doc or anything like that. I got Trilby's, I have Shy, I have yours, Tommy, you're there, Zelena, Isabella, Devin I have, Nick I have, both Ben's, Tyler, and Matt. So,
Where's mine? Oh, I didn't share. I didn't.
not there.
Oh, I
I
got
gotta
it.
hit done.
Hit done. Oops. Because I just told you to do Fahrenheit 451 and Polaro. I forgot to tell you research. It's okay. It's not going to be a problem. All right, so
McDougal.
Tony McDonald's.
all right, Luke, you're there. Logan, you are there.
Label there.
Logan second.
Did you save it? Did you do done? Jillian, I have yours.
Do I have to do the project details first?
Do you have to do the what?
Project details.
No.
Oh, then I hit submit.
But did you share it?
I'm playing on this.
So under your project, here, look up at the screen. So Zach, do you have this screen?
Yeah, that's wait. Yeah, that's what I was just on.
Okay, so you go to dashboard if you're not there. Then you go with share with a project inbox here in the middle, right where this blue is.
Yes.
And from there, if you type in English 10, you'll start to see a class. It'll say English 10, Mr. Kane, period 5.
And then enter my name.
And then hit done, and yeah, type in your name. Okay. All right. Now, up at the top of the screen. So right now, dashboard is highlighted. Need you to go to sources.
Did you get it?
I'll double check that later. All right, so you would be in sources. Will look like this. Currently, you don't have any sources. Where you're going to go for right now, the source that we're going to add is Fahrenheit 451, and that's the reason for having this number up here on the board. So it's a green button, it turns to white once you hover over it, go to create new citation, and then since we have a print copy in our hand, we're going to go to this third option, print or in hand, and we will go to a book. You have a gray set of, a gray grouping of sources, it's the third option. So create new citation, you're going to that gray group from print, and then it has a book listed. Now, rather than typing everything in, toward the top of the page, you see where it says import ISBN. There's a search box next to it. That's where you're going to type in this number. So we're going 978. Again, the number on the board, not the number on the sheet that I gave to you. 978 145 167. Don't worry about spaces or anything like that. 3319. And then you do have to hit the search button. And you'll see Fahrenheit 451. Now, they don't really make this look too pretty. You still have to like click on Fahrenheit 451 so it gets like a little grayish color to it. And then you have to hit this import selected source.
Ray Bradbury.
And then you have to hit continue again. So you're highlighting it, import selected, and then at the bottom you're going to continue, and then it will create the source for you. Okay? Now, down at the bottom, and they switched NoodleBib like last year. They did an update. The one thing that I don't like about the update is when you scroll to the bottom, I don't want you to hit save, but I want you to hit save and add annotation. We're going to add annotations to all of our sources. They used to have a box in there that would let you type it in right away, but now they kind of add an extra step to it. The only thing that you need to do in the annotation is you're going to type in the word source and then do number 1. Simply means it is our first source. Once you hit source and number 1, you can then hit the save and close button at the top. So when we put in our next source, what are we going to put in the annotation? Source number 2. The reason for it is when you go to do your note cards, you're going to have a list of your bibliography. It's going to look kind of like this. It's on the back of your FAQ sheet that you picked up. Rather than you writing titles, authors, all of that stuff on your note cards, you're just going to put source 1. So anything that you write on a note card that says source number 1, you know is coming from Fahrenheit 451. Anything that you put on your note card that says source number 2, you know that that's coming from the second source that you would have. All right. So the source numbers, it makes life easier later on down the road. Don't worry about, because as we add sources, your sources are going to be in alphabetical order. Bradbury might always be the number 1 source. It might not be the first source. Don't worry about the order that they're in. Just as long as you have source number 1, source number 2, source number 3, you'll be all right. Okay? So everyone have a book source, Fahrenheit 451. All right. Part that I need you to go next. Keep Noodle Tools open. Go back to your English 10 Google Classroom tab. So Noodle Tools open, going back to English 10, then go to Library. So from here, you're going to the first link, Library, okay? And it's should bring up North Hills School District Library. The other thing that you should not need now, but you might need this at home, on Google Classroom, and I realize I'm going back, underneath Library, there is this thing here that says Library Database Passwords. When you are at home, it might ask you for username and passwords for different databases. So I've attached a Google document to it that'll show you what the passwords, the usernames are. Most of them are Lupswag, have no idea what it means, don't worry about it, but it's a way to kind of get in. The ones that you're going to be using most often are going to be Opposing Viewpoints, SIRS, those will be the 2 most common ones. You might use some others kind of depending on what it is that you're doing. But if it's asking for username passwords, I have them saved for you there so that you still can get access to those. All right? So from the library page, I want you to go where it says databases. Fifth one over has the yin yang sign, opposing viewpoints.
Gail?
It says Gale at the top. I don't think it's going to ask you for username password, and it should take you to a page that looks like this. We're good? Now here's where things get not complicated, but things aren't going to look the same. You're going to start doing searches based on your topic. So if you're doing something with nuclear weapons, you might type, if you spell it right, you start to type in nuclear, you can see that some hits start to come up. You might take a look at weapons. If you are doing something dealing with censorship, you could type in censorship. Notice they do have censoring music lyrics. I think some of you were looking at that kind of possibility. But what you want to do is just start kind of typing in some search terms, and your sheet that you were doing your brainstorming for, you could start taking a look at subtopics. You could take a look for other keywords that you were coming up with. But you want to just kind of start looking for some kind of article that looks like it's going to be relevant for you. You'll come to some pages that'll show you differing viewpoints and whatnot. Make sure that you're not looking at the main page for your source, but that you are taking a look at these articles that follow along underneath. So take a couple minutes, start just looking for some search items, some articles that you think could be useful for the research issue, the opinion that you're taking a look at. I know a lot of you are looking at like technology with, like Luke, you were typing in laziness.
Yeah.
It's not always going to necessarily show the way that you want. You could type in, okay, did you get stuff? Some things like screen anxiety might even start to show up, which is different from your laziness, but the whole like separation, where you could take a look at that one. Touch screen anxiety. The nomophobia term, I think we mentioned on like Thursday or Friday, was the no screen, so it's nomophobia. I do think they have some articles on here that pop up underneath that one if you're looking at technology. Mobile device separation anxiety is a growing problem. Those could be some things that you could take a look at. What I want you to be able to do, though, is at least find one article that you think could be helpful. You're not guaranteeing that's going to be one that you want, but you think it could be helpful. Yes.
Okay. So now what would you do?
I just want to make sure everyone at least has an article. You mean like the video file in the background? Yeah. Articles, in all the articles, we usually have some statistics in them. Okay, so you got an article. Zach,
Yeah, you sure?
hold on, not yet. All right, once you have your article, over here, so, and whether it's, most of them are going to say like from opposing viewpoints in context, whether the article, when you were on the previous page, said article, statistics, opposing viewpoint, whatever, if it's on opposing viewpoints, it will be okay. It is reliable for us. What I want you to do, and who knows if you're going to use this article in your research or not, at the top of the page, you have tools over here on the right-hand side. They have citation tools, all right? The first option under tools. You click on citation tools. It gives you the citation for this source. I don't want you to copy and paste it. I want you to go beneath where it says export to. you'll see the third option is Noodle Tools. As long as you are logged into NoodleBib from opposing viewpoints, you can then export your sources. So I'm going to hit the export button. And then it's going to bring me to a screen that's going to look something like this, where it should say citation saved successfully. And then I have, for my project, it has the most recent project I was in, so it would say Fahrenheit 451 last name, Fahrenheit 451, research or whatever. So now it is in your Noodle Tools. If you then go back to the other tab that you had open, so it's imported into Noodle Tools. I go to Noodle Tools. Right now people go, Mr. Kane, the source isn't there. All I have is Bradbury. If you refresh the page, you should now have, hopefully, oops, only one still. I have to import references, I guess, is what I have to do. There we go. Okay, so step we forgot to mention, after it said copied at this page, down at the bottom, you want to make sure it's in the right project. If you hit import references, then it will take it to your new page, so you would have to refresh it. Don't hit import references like 50 times, because then you're going to get 50 copies of that same source going into your project inbox, and that would be a problem. Now, in here, what's missing though from my source? I don't have my source number. So what I have to do is now I'm going to my new source. I'm going to options. I'm going to click the options button, the little arrow, and they have the edit annotation option. So from options, arrow, the second little pop-up window that comes up, or the second option on that pop-up window says edit annotation. Then I can go in here and type in source number 2, save and close.
I refreshed it. It's still not there.
Ah, dang, I put one in there.
Did you hit this button here, the import reference?
Wait, how do you put an annotation on it?
I'll show you in here in a second.
How do I delete it?
There, now it's set. Might just hit the wrong part of the trackpad. So for your annotation, to edit the annotation, options, once your source is there, edit annotation, it'll bring up the annotation text box, you type in source number 2. So when I'm taking a look at this source, all I'm putting on my note card is a number 2, and that lets me know I'm using source number 2. You're not going to start researching this source, probably like taking any note cards, at earliest next Tuesday. What tends to be a common problem then next Tuesday?
I forgot.
Mr. Kane, I had this article, but I don't know where it's at. And if you go and type in the copy URL address, it does not always work. So if I'm going back to my source that I have in opposing viewpoints, so I'm looking back at my article. I have it in NoodleBib. Next thing I want to do is I want to email. And all I'm simply going to do, you can type in your email address as the sender. You're going to email it to yourself, to your student Gmail. Then you will have a digital copy of that source that you can then access. Okay?
Yeah.
Tommy, make sure you email that source. I'll give you your pass. But email that source to yourself
Never again.
that you were looking at. Yep. So as a sender email, you're going to type in your own email address, your students.nhsd.net. Then you're going to literally send it to yourself so that when you go to your inbox, you would be able to access it. The other thing that I would do, and if you already hit send, it's okay. But the other thing that I would do in the subject, I have my article, I would put in source number 2 so I know exactly which source this is, and then I'm going to hit send so I have a copy of it. And then you'll have an you'll have a email copy of the source that you don't have to worry about trying to get back into opposing viewpoints to locate. And if I go to my email, it's probably going to pop up here within, a couple seconds. Anybody unable to export the source or email the source?
No.
Nick, if I go to Noodle Tools, am I going to see 2 sources? Devin, I'll see 2 sources. Okay. So make sure you have your source numbers in there, and then you want to make sure you email it to yourself. At this point, you can sign out, close out your windows. Tomorrow what we're going to do, we're coming back to Google Classroom. I'm going to show you another couple databases so that you know at least places that you can look at to start looking for sources. The goal, not the goal, the requirement is by Friday, end of class, you have 11 sources total at least, because you have Fahrenheit 451 plus 10. Tonight, if you know your week is going to be busy, what you could do tonight, you go to the database, the library, start looking up sources. If you have study halls, you want a pass to go to the library to look up sources, I can certainly give you those passes. That's not a problem at all.
Mr. Chairman, I did it.